You just chose to watch this video. You stopped scrolling, clicked, and now you're here. Seems like a simple choice, free, yours. But what if I told you that even this small gesture reveals which social class you come from? What if every choice you make, from the coffee you drink to the music you listen to, was a silent confession about who you are, where you came from, and where you can go? Pierre Bourdieu spent his entire life proving that you don't choose anything. You are chosen. And the worst part, you think you have good taste. Think about the last time you judged someone by the clothes they wore, or by how they spoke, or by the restaurant where they ate. You weren't just observing preferences. You were reading an invisible social map, decoding class signals you learned without realizing. Bourdieu called this habitus, but let's simplify. It's the social software installed in you since birth, running in the background, making you desire certain things and reject others, without ever questioning why. Society taught you that your preferences are unique, that your taste is personal, that your cultural choices define your individuality. What a comfortable lie. In reality, you were programmed to like what you like, to choose what you choose, to dream within the limits your class allows. And the cruelest part? You defend these preferences as if they were your achievements, when they're actually your chains. Now, before continuing on this journey that will change how you see every choice you make, every judgment you pass, every preference you defend, if this has already stirred something inside you, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Because what comes next will make you question even why you decided to watch this video. Stay until the end. You're going to need it. 500 words of a mirror you never wanted to look into. And that was just the beginning. You think you chose your favorite music genre. You think you picked your clothing style. You think your hobbies reflect your personality. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A working-class kid and an upper-class kid don't just have different bank accounts. They have different souls, and society made sure of that. The myth goes like this. We live in a meritocracy where anyone can rise, where talent and hard work determine success, where your choices shape your destiny. Education is the great equalizer. Culture is democratized. The internet gave everyone access to everything. You can learn anything, become anyone, transcend your origins. This is the story we tell ourselves while the invisible walls grow higher. But Bourdieu saw through this beautiful lie. He understood that class isn't just about money. It's about something far more insidious. It's about the way you hold your fork, the words you use without thinking, the art that moves you or bores you, the jokes you find funny, the dreams you allow yourself to have. Your class didn't just give you an economic position, it gave you an entire way of being in the world. And then it convinced you this was your authentic self. When a working-class person enters an art gallery and feels out of place, that's not ignorance, that's class conditioning working perfectly. When an upper-class person naturally networks at cocktail parties while others feel like imposters, that's not personality, that's inherited social capital. The game was rigged before you were born, and the rules were written into your nervous system. You were taught to see your limitations as choices, to see your exclusions as preferences, to see your place in the hierarchy as natural, deserved, chosen. The working class learns to say, that's not for people like us, while the upper class learns to say, we've always done it this way. And both think they're expressing free will. Look at your bookshelf, your playlist, your Instagram feed. Now look closer. See that pattern? That's not your personality. That's your class uniform. You're wearing it right now, and you can't take it off. Bourdieu discovered something terrifying. The prison has no walls because the prison is you. Your tastes, your interests, your aspirations, they're not expressions of your true self. They're your class position, announcing itself through your body, your voice, your choices. You don't need guards. When the prisoners police themselves, You don't need chains when people forge their own. Think about how you judge someone who pronounces a word wrong, or uses the wrong fork, or likes the wrong music. That instant, visceral reaction. That's your class training kicking in, protecting the boundaries, maintaining the order. You've been turned into a border guard for a territory you don't even know you're defending. The middle class obsesses over education because cultural capital is their only hope of climbing. They push their children into piano lessons, museum visits, reading the right books, desperately trying to accumulate the signals of a higher class. Meanwhile, the working class watchers, excluded from this game they never agreed to play, told their culture is inferior, their tastes are bad, their ways of being are wrong, and the upper class? They don't even have to try. Their cultural capital is inherited like trust funds. They move through the world with an ease that looks like confidence, but is actually just the comfort of always belonging. They've never had to think about how to hold a wine glass because they learned it before they could walk. Their privilege is invisible to them because it's as natural as breathing. The trap is perfect. Those who have cultural capital believe they earned it through merit and refined taste. Those who lack it believe they're simply not sophisticated enough. Everyone stays in their lane, policing the boundaries, teaching their children to do the same. The dominated participate in their own domination and call it culture. Enter Pierre Bourdieu, the farm boy from rural France, who became one of sociology's greatest minds. He saw what others couldn't because he lived it. The violent collision between classes, the shame of not knowing the rules, the exhausting performance of trying to belong. In Distinction and the Forms of Capital, he exposed the magic trick that keeps inequality alive, making domination feel like freedom. Bourdieu revealed 3 types of capital that actually run the world. Economic capital. That's obvious, it's money. But then there's cultural capital, your education, your tastes, your way of speaking, the art you understand, the references you catch, and social capital, who you know, who knows you, which doors open when you knock. The genius of the system is how these capitals convert into each other, like a currency exchange for power. Watch how it works. Wealthy parents buy cultural capital for their children. Private schools, tutors, travel, exposure to the arts. This cultural capital transforms into credentials, connections, confidence, which converts back into economic capital through better jobs, higher salaries, investment opportunities, which buys more cultural capital for the next generation. The cycle perpetuates itself while looking like merit. But here's where Bourdieu's insight cuts deepest: symbolic violence. It's when the dominated accept their domination as legitimate. When working-class kids say, university isn't for people like me. When they self-eliminate from opportunities before anyone has to exclude them. When they internalize their position as natural, deserved, chosen. The violence isn't physical, it's the violence of making people complicit in their own subjugation. You know that feeling when you're in a space where you don't belong. That hyper-awareness of your body, your voice, your clothes, that's habitus meeting field, your class conditioning, clashing with a social space designed for another class. The discomfort isn't accidental. It's the system's way of saying, you don't belong here. And instead of questioning the system, you question yourself. This is the moment where everything breaks, where you realize you're not who you thought you were. You're a product. A class reproduction machine, a walking, talking expression of your social position. And every time you felt proud of your taste, ashamed of your origins, or judged someone else's choices, you were just following the script. Remember when you corrected someone's grammar? You weren't defending language. You were defending class boundaries. Remember when you felt embarrassed by your parents in certain settings? That wasn't growth. That was class betrayal. Remember when you chose that university, that career, that partner? How much was choice, and how much was the invisible hand of habitus guiding you toward what felt right for someone like you? The educated middle class reads this and thinks they're exempt. They've read Bourdieu, after all. They understand the game. But metacultural capital, knowing about cultural capital, is just another form of distinction. Another way to feel superior, another cage with shinier bars. You can't think your way out of habitus any more than you can think your way out of having lungs. And social media, it's made everything worse. Now we perform our class positions 24/7. Every photo, every caption, every share is a class signal. The algorithm learns your habitus and feeds it back to you, creating echo chambers of class taste. You think you're expressing yourself, but you're just broadcasting your position in the hierarchy to others exactly like you. The cruelest part. Even your resistance is classed. The way working-class people reject bourgeois culture is part of the system. The way middle-class people embrace irony and eclecticism is part of the system. The way upper-class people cultivate casual indifference is part of the system. There's no outside, there's no escape. Even your critique of class is shaped by your class. You are not an individual making free choices. You are a class position expressing itself through a body. And the moment you truly understand this, really feel it in your bones, is the moment you realize how deep the programming goes. But here's what Bourdieu also knew. Seeing the water doesn't mean you stop drowning, but it's the first step toward learning to swim. Recognition is not liberation, but it's where liberation begins. You can't escape your habitus, but you can become conscious of it. You can't erase your class conditioning, but you can catch it in the act. Start noticing. When you judge someone's taste, ask yourself, whose interests does this judgment serve? When you feel out of place, ask, who benefits from my discomfort? When you defend your preferences as natural and obvious, ask, who taught me to want this? The system's power lies in its invisibility. Make it visible. Every time you catch yourself policing class boundaries, you weaken their hold. This isn't about guilt or shame. The working class shouldn't feel ashamed of their culture, and the privileged shouldn't perform false modesty. It's about understanding that the game is rigged, that the rules are arbitrary, that the boundaries are violent. It's about recognizing that what we call good taste is just successful domination. What we call merit is just inherited advantage wearing a disguise. You're still going to make choices shaped by your class. You're still going to feel the pull of your habitus. But now you know. Now you can see the strings. Now you can recognize the performance. And in that recognition lies the possibility, just the possibility, of something else, of solidarity across class lines, of refusing to play border guard, of teaching the next generation to see what you couldn't. If this changed how you see every choice, every judgment, every preference, if you can feel the weight of your own conditioning and want others to feel it too, then share this. Someone in your life is still sleeping, still believing their cage is freedom, still defending their chains as choices. They need this discomfort. They need this mirror. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us see the water we're drowning in, we can start building boats. The game continues, but now you know you're playing, and that changes everything.